Good morning, Prime Minister. I wanted to know, in the face of a hostile America, how do you see the bilateral ties between Canada, India, and also the trade relations?
Yeah, trade in Canada.
Indian Canada.
Look, I believe.
Trade between trade
Yeah,
between
look,
India and Canada.
I believe very strongly that Canada and India need to deepen their economic relationship. When I was in office, we were successful in negotiating a social security agreement, also a nuclear cooperation agreement. We had started discussions on foreign investment protection and promotion agreement, and we'd even had some preliminary discussions on a trade agreement. So I think there's a universal agreement in Canada that we would like to deepen our both investment and trade flows with India. That has been happening, not happening at the rate it should be happening, in my opinion, given the complementarity of our economies, but that has been happening, and I certainly think now it's an imperative. I mean, obviously, given the overwhelming majority of our trade that goes to the United States, it's now more important than ever that Canada diversify its trade, and India is a logical place for that to happen.
Yes, Prime Minister Tony Abbott would actually like to ask that question. Sabri, could we get that mic over here, please, quickly?
Well, Stephen, thank you for that very thoughtful and insightful address. I'm going to suggest later today that on balance, Trump is more good than bad for the wider world. And I'm wondering what you think. Is he more good or is he more bad for the wider world?
Yeah, look, Tony, Prime Minister Abbott, great question. Look, I thought, looking back, I'd be very candid. I looked at the last time President Trump was in office, those 4 years. Obviously a time of upheaval. He challenged many basic assumptions of U.S. foreign policy. And then we had 4 years of the Biden administration. I think it is unquestionably the case that the world was stronger and safer under the first Trump administration than under the Biden administration. We had, subsequent to Trump leaving office, we had 2 major wars break out, and threats of wars elsewhere. We had the further retreat of democracy and democratic nations around the world. And frankly, just I thought just a heightened lack of clarity from the West about who its friends and enemies were. I mean, we saw it with this country. We saw in the rather cool treatment that the Modi government got from the Biden administration frequently. We saw those kinds of issues. So, Tony, I would have told you and felt very strongly that during the election, based on everything the president was saying, that the world would become once again stronger and safer under a new Trump administration. I think the jury is now out. I think we've got to admit that we're all being thrown some curveballs. And the curveballs are 2 things, one of which I already alluded to. The president's seemingly agnostic view about whether a country is democratic or not as being an important thing. President Trump's willingness to make nice with Russia, with Turkey, and others, while at the same time launching, attacks on Canada, Denmark, others, I think raises real red flags. And I think it's just the broader case that it's not clear who in the president's mind are friends and who are opponents. And I must tell you, well, look, I understand the geopolitical argument that wouldn't it be great if the United States could cement a better relationship with Russia and pull Russia away from China. That's a great theoretical argument. The problem is this. You and I, and more so me, my time in office, spent a lot of time with Vladimir Putin. Like, I watched George W. Bush and Barack Obama try to make an ally of Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin doesn't want to be an ally and is not an ally and will never be an ally. He is a geopolitical rival of the United States who is intent on the destruction of American power in the world. And the fact that President Trump doesn't seem to understand that, I think, is very concerning. The fact that President Trump wants, as I said earlier, Democratic allies to pony up, put real resources on the table, participate with the United States, make concrete contributions to shared values and shared goals, as the Israelis have done, frankly, as your government in Australia has often done, and some other allies have done. That's understandable. But as I say, just gratuitous attacks on countries like Canada and Denmark are incomprehensible. Denmark, Greenland. The United States has military bases in Greenland. The Danes are completely in cooperation with the Americans on these issues. Why are they attacking a Danish territory? It makes no sense. So I think, Tony,